Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our February 8th Board of Education meeting. It is the 8th of February at 7:02 p.m. Brennan, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. King?
Here.
Ms. Reese?
Present.
Ms. Sebastian?
Here.
Mr. Elam?
Here.
Ms. Mansfield?
Present.
Forgot the Pledge of Allegiance.
So we'll do that now. If you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible, with
liberty
and
and
justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Fulton. All right. Thank you for getting this back into the appropriate order. Additions to the agenda, under 2. We have the memorandum of understanding with the BEA's voluntary leave. It's under section E of the board report. And then we have B, possibly, I believe, a facilities recommendation for the layout of the K5 building under board report, section number F, as in Frank. Is there any other additions that we would see to the agenda? All right. So next is number 3. It's a hearing of the public. It has our participating guidelines. We are checking comments on YouTube and looking for any comments that are regarding the agenda or any questions regarding the agenda. Not seeing any at this time. All right. And none from the audience here. So we'll be moving forward. And I think I'll turn this over to Mr. Hattery on a presentation.
Thank you, Mr. King. Tonight, I have associates from Magone Brunrender, Nicole Woodruff, and Justin Whittle here to go over some information in relations to our current health insurance plan, as well as if the district would like to offer another option as a high deductible HSA plan, as well as possibly looking to go out to market for other consortiums and what that would take if the board wanted to go to that. Justin, do you want me to share your presentation then, or do you want me to give you control?
I have it pulled up on my screen. It might be easier if I can drive.
Sure. So let me. I'll make you host.
Okay. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. First of all, Brennan, how long do you want us to have the floor? I don't want to take too long.
Mr. King, did they have a set time?
No?
I would just say whatever you need to get out the information that I've asked you to guys present tonight.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for having us. We're happy to be here with you, and excuse me as I'm looking over at my other monitor. I have a bigger monitor off to the side. So as Brennan said, we just wanted to come in and talk to you a little bit about some of your current situation with your EPC consortium that you're in, and also what it might look like to add another option alongside your current PPO insurance plan that you have for your employees. So I'm going to run through a couple different things. First of all, just want to talk a little bit about how it's going with Bethel local schools and your health insurance. So this is a report that we prepare for you each month, and we feel each number on this page has a little bit of importance, but I'll touch on a few numbers just briefly. This number up here in the top left, 56.1%, that is your current loss ratio for a rolling 12-month period. So basically, this report is calculating the whole year of 2020 on a rolling 12-month basis. So what this 56.1% means is that you, for every dollar you pay into the EPC consortium for 2020, you only spent 56.1% of each dollar. So you averaged 96 lives over the course of the year. I think you started the year at about 92 and you ended the year at about 101. So you continue to grow. And you paid in $1.84 million of premium to the EPC, and you had claims of $1.03 million. So you contributed $807,000 more dollars than what you spent. Just to give you a little more history on that, you typically, I think when we started working with you, your loss ratio for the last couple of years was up over 100%. And that's not abnormal, but I can tell you that the EPC, for their longevity, they need their members to probably average about 90% on that loss ratio. Because one, they only want to spend, about 90% of all the claim dollars, because then they have some administration fees that they have to cover with that other 10%. So that's why they want it to be less than 100%. So 56.1 is really strong. I would say anything below 85 is a very good performing year. So over here, we keep track of large claims that your plan has, and you are doing a very good job in the past year of not having large claims, and it's not necessarily something you can control. These things tend to occur whenever they're going to occur. There's little you can do. Many of them can be related to chronic conditions, or they can just be accidental. It could be a COVID case that could show up in here. If you have a severe COVID case that requires hospitalization. So I think when we started working with you about a year ago, you had 3 of these claims, and as of now, a couple of those have fallen off and you just have 1. So we just like to keep track of the large claims. And if we are able to find out more about what kind of claim it is, and if it's something that we can act upon to help educate your membership so that they can be better consumers and get better care at a lower cost, that's an opportunity for savings. Down here is really just a breakdown of the enrollment of your membership. So you have your employees, and then your employee plus a spouse or a child, and then your family, though your premiums are only broken down between employee and family. This is just another a table showing your monthly kind of your trend in numbers, and it's really just showing your enrollment once again, and your total lives, and your monthly premium, and then a cumulative year-to-date premium number. So all of these just total this number all the way down here. Here's your monthly breakdown, and it will show you how much your claims are each month between medical and RXs for prescription, if you're not familiar with that. To
Hey,
get
Justin,
yeah, sure.
can you increase your
Bigger?
size? So some of them can't see the numbers. Thank you.
Is that a little better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So this is really just showing your claims on a month-by-month basis, and you can see if you have any crazy outlier months, right? But for the most part, your claims have been less on a monthly basis than the premium that you've contributed. And then here's a running total of that loss ratio that I talked about more on the last page, the 56.1. Just at the end of each month, where were you at? And I should add that I think your loss ratio is really low in the last year, mostly because of COVID. A lot of folks have been avoiding the hospital. They don't want to go somewhere where they could possibly get infected. A lot of elective procedures were put on hold for probably 3 to 4 months. Folks couldn't even get those done if they wanted to. the industry experts are expecting some of those elective procedures to eventually occur, more than likely in 2021. So our hope would be that, you don't get loaded down in the first quarter of this year with some of those elective procedures. With the way your plan is designed, you have a very low deductible. So your employees do have access to care at a very low cost. So if they are wanting to get those procedures done, I don't think there will be any financial restraints from them doing that. So that's just something to keep an eye on as we go forward. Just expect that some of the things that didn't happen in 2020 will more than likely happen in 2021. So I wanted to move on to the next subject, which is talking more about what it means to go and quote with a different carrier. The EPC is we'll call them your carrier. They're actually your consortium, but they act like an insurance carrier to you. So the history on the EPC is it's a group of, let's call it 70 school districts across Ohio, mostly the western half of Ohio and in the Dayton region. But they've been around for quite a while, and they've been a really good consortium. They had a couple years in the recent past that their loss ratio is probably running a little high, and because of that, they have to pass down larger than optimal renewal increases. And so Bethel, like most of the schools in the EPC, had some really high renewals there for a couple of years, just to help stabilize the EPC and get their, I'm assuming, I'm making some assumptions, but get their reserves back where they need to be to feel really good about the consortium and keep everything financially stable. So I like to talk about this graph because it's a representation of risk and reward based on what type of funding you have behind your health plan. And as you can see on the left axis here, this is the level of reward. And on the lower axis here, this is the level of risk. So as you go further out on the risk spectrum here, you have more opportunity for reward. So right now, you're kind of in the middle in this consortium bubble. It's a really good place to be for schools, especially one your size, because you're able to pool your manpower with the manpower of all these other school districts like you, and leverage some purchasing power to get better rates on stop loss coverage and life insurance coverage, and of course your medical. So it's very normal for school districts to be in a consortium. I think the SERB study shows that like 81% of school districts in Ohio are in a consortium. So, I feel really comfortable with you guys being inside of that consortium arrangement. When we take you out to quote, if you desire, we could quote you in many of these products. Maybe not all of them are available. Some of them are carrier dependent, and there's different rules, and some of them we know might not be a good fit, so we wouldn't even pursue those. But fully insured is what you think of more than likely when you think of insurance, right? You pay in a set amount of premium each month, and your risk is capped. So you're on the line for the premium and nothing else. Even if you only pay in $1 million of premium as a district and you have $2 million of claims, you only pay in that $1 million. You're not on the hook for that second $1 million. The consortium makes it feel like a fully insured product to your school district, where the school district does only have to pay in a fixed premium per employee, throughout the year. But on the back end, the consortium has risk levels that they have to cover over and above your premium if your claims do exceed your premium. And then the partially self-funded, which I've also highlighted, is very popular for groups that get up over 100 and above. And partially self-funded is much like the consortium, except you're out there swimming by yourself. You don't have the power of 70 other schools in EPC. So you have less purchasing power and there's more volatility. So we keep all of these in mind when we look at what options should we bring to you to consider. So looking at quoting outside the EPC, there's a lot of moving pieces that we need to be very mindful of. And excuse me if I can't explain this really clearly because it's hard to put into words, but what I've tried to do here is lay out a timeline of just a calendar timeline, right? So we're in the middle of, or the beginning of the 2021 plan year. And so in October, the EPC gave you new rates. And then they said, okay, in January, you're going to pay those rates from January 2021 through December 2021. Just about a year or two ago, the EPC implemented a new 6-month notice if you want to leave the EPC. And so you're required to tell them 6 months ahead of time if you plan to exit. The thing about that is it's irrevocable. If you tell them today that you plan to leave, you have no choice but to leave. At the end of 6 months, you'll no longer be covered. So, this decision definitely is not to be taken lightly if you decide to leave the EPC. But there's other things to consider as well as you're looking at possibly leaving the EPC. So keep in mind you have to give a 6-month notice, but we also have to take you out to quote, and those other carriers that we are quoting won't give you a 6-month guarantee on your rates. So if we were to take Bethel out to the market today and get quotes on insurance, the farthest out they would tell us the rates would probably be, let's call it May 1st right now. So that leaves a big gap in the timing of when you give the EPC notice and when you start coverage or what your rates might be if you change carriers and pick up new coverage. So ideally, if you were going to do it and wanted to minimize how much financial impact switching from the EPC to another carrier would have, you would want to give the EPC notice on 7/1, and then you would continue paying the rest of your 2021 premiums to the EPC. And then beginning 1/1/22, you would start paying premiums to your new carrier. And then the EPC also requires a 3-month run out to manage and administer claims that happened prior to the end of your time with them, but they just finally, got processed through all the medical administrators. So that's a financial fee to consider too. So the goal would be to minimize overlap of premiums between the EPC and a new carrier if you do decide to go to a new carrier. And so that's kind of, they're moving parts, and there's a lot of different ways we can move them. But the goal would be, obviously, don't spend more money than you have to, because, if you're spending X amount of dollars to leave, at the end of the day, are you really going to be better off if you get a minimal decrease in your rate to go somewhere else, right? And then on top of that, everybody in the EPC is also having a very, well, not everybody, but many schools in the EPC are having a very strong year on their loss ratio, just like Bethel. You have that 56.1% loss ratio at the moment. Well, many schools are having a very good year too. So we're really hopeful that the EPC as a whole is having a really good year, and we'll be able to pass down a strong renewal, but that is to be determined. So I've probably lost you all, and I totally understand if you're if you zone me out a little bit, but we have a standard timeline that we like to follow when we are taking a client out to market to consider their options. And so we've laid this out, and this would be an example of if we wanted to take you out and have a quote for 7/1. So that would basically, we would basically we would have your employees fill out Form FIRE, which is an online medical questionnaire, which is required by the medical insurance carriers in order for them to quantify your risk as a group. And so we would have your employees fill that out. We would submit it for quotes to multiple insurance carriers. And then the goal would be to have those quotes back, in May or so that we can start planning to get it all rolled out. Just know we ran this timeline for a July 1 effective date, but this could be adjusted. We could take you out to quote at any time. We could do, obviously we need to plan on the front end here. It takes a couple months to get it all done, but we don't have to take you out for 7/1. We could take you out for 9/1 or even 1/1.
Hey, Justin,
Yeah.
quick question. So so the way I'm looking at this, no matter what, to get out of the EPC, no matter what time frame, they still would have to pay 6 months of premium, no matter what, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I believe, and it's my understanding, and we've gone back and forth with the EPC a lot, just trying to understand this as well as we can, that, yeah, basically, if you give notice today, you're paying premium for 6 months. If you give notice on October 1st, you would pay premium for the rest of that year, then 3 months into the next year. So still 6 months. So that's where the financial implications could be very impactful if you're doubling up on premium, right? Between the EPC and then any new insurance carrier if you make a switch.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I brought for talking about going out to market, switching carriers. Based on what I've already said about how I feel like the EPC's probably having a pretty good year, and they might be able to pass down some strong renewals. Maybe it's not the right year to consider making a change. We are more than willing to still take you out to market and see what we get back. Even if you didn't plan on leaving the EPC, we could do that. We could give you a feel for where you are. But not everybody in the room will remember that we did do a projection like that on our own. We have the capability in-house to do a projection on some insurance renewals. And we did that just under a year ago, last April or May. And so we had information through April 2020. And we ran a renewal scenario if we wanted to take you out and get a fully insured renewal from United Healthcare. And we had you at a 12.2% renewal when we did that. And the EPC gave you a 7.5%. So, and a lot of that is based on your size, right? Because the insurance companies, they don't think you're big enough to give you full credibility for your medical experience. So they're lumping you in with a big pool of their book of business. And so they're saying like, all right, we'll give you 50% credit for how good you've done on your claims, but you're not quite big enough for us to trust those claims. So we're going to give 50% allocation to the average claims of other businesses your size that are our clients. And so they blend it all together and they come up with that 12%, whereas the EPC, they have a level of reserves that they're trying to maintain. And then they're also trying to do the right thing for their members. And try to minimize the cost impact as well. They're not out to turn a profit for anybody. So, they can run a little bit leaner than what a UHC is going to do for you if you're out on your own. But so I just wanted to share that. Well, we can take you out to market anytime, and that's why we're here for you, and we'll do it. But let's also be strategic and think about what the best move going forward is, because if you leave the EPC, you can't come back for 3 years, and you have to be approved to come back, right? And while the last couple of years have not been the greatest experience, looking at the overall history of the EPC, it's been a very good consortium, and it's been good for all the members. So other things we can do if we don't take you out to market would be considering plan design changes. And your plan is in your collectively bargained agreement, which is very standard for school districts. You have a really good PPO plan, and I don't think anybody's gonna really want to let that baby go, which is understandable. But maybe looking out longer term, what it means to the district. And I know you all have looked at that. And I come from a finance background, so I'm always thinking about things in numbers. But it'll be something to really keep an eye on going forward, because the medical health insurance trend, so the inflation, the year-over-year increase in Ohio for public entities has been like 6 to 7%. And if you just model out, what let's call a Bethel health plan, about $20,000 on average per employee, model out a 6 or 7% increase over the next 5 to 10 years and what that means. And we've got a little bit of a budget crisis. So definitely is important to start considering some of the alternatives, right? So I think a couple good alternatives, which we've talked about a little bit before, would be adding a high deductible health plan and adding that alongside the PPO, which would mean if you like the PPO, you can still stay on it and enjoy it. And folks that want to save a little bit of money on an HSA or a high deductible plan, they would have a little bit lower premiums, and they would still have really high quality health insurance. So that would be an option to add an HSA plan alongside the PPO. And if the board chose, they could contribute into the HSA accounts of the folks that get on that plan. One other way to go about it would be to freeze new enrollment for new employees that come on, just allow them to go into the high deductible health plan. That's very common in school districts. A lot of districts have stopped allowing new enrollees into the PPO, so then they're just putting them in the high deductible plan. And then also the folks, if they no longer wanted the PPO, they could go to the high deductible plan. I think it's one of those comfort things where you're just used to something, and you don't really realize that you might not be using it, even though you're paying for it. And I find that to be the case a lot with PPO plans for school districts. They're very rich plans. And not only is the board paying a lot for it, but the employees are actually paying a lot too through their payroll withholdings. So, and if they're not high utilizers, they could stand to save some money on their health care. All right. Oops, sorry. Going to go to the next slide here. So I've modeled out a couple things, and I don't expect you to be able to really see this too well, but hopefully you can. So this is an HSA illustration. Okay. last year around the renewal time, we went to the EPC and asked them how much rates would be reduced if you added a high deductible HSA plan alongside the PPO. And they basically, we gave them two scenarios for the plan design, and they came back with a 9% reduction off of one and an 11% reduction off the other. And so I've more or less just modeled out, here's your current cost of your current plan up here for per employee monthly, per employee annually, and then the total cost to all the employees and to the board. Okay, so as it stands right now with about 101 enrolled, it's costing over $2 million total for the PPO. And so down here, I've kept the PPO on these lines. And then down here, I've added the high deductible plan and just assumed 10% adoption. So just assuming 10% of the people would find the high deductible plan more advantageous, because in this scenario, I've modeled out what $1,000 for single and $2,000 for family coming from the Board of Education paid into the employees' accounts that get on that plan. Now, the benefits of the HSA for people that might not be familiar, it's a tax advantage account. Money that goes into your HSA can only be used for qualified medical expenses, but it can also, it carries over in that bank account. So it's a savings account, and you can keep it forever. If you would leave employment with Bethel, you would still have the account. It would still be your money. And it's yours to use or save, and it will reduce your taxable income. So a lot of people like using that as a retirement plan. And so there's a lot of reasons to do it, but really good reasons are it lowers your premium if you don't use a lot of healthcare claims. And then two, it's a savings account. So in this illustration here, it actually, with only 10% going, it's not really a cost advantage to the board. The employees actually save more money annually than the board does. The board essentially breaks even, but it could be an added benefit for the employees, even if the board is not saving money on it. So that's that illustration. I've also included another illustration about an HRA. Now, an HRA is a health reimbursement arrangement. The difference between an HSA and an HRA, the board, it's basically, let's call an HRA a promise to pay, whereas they establish an individual account for all the employees that are in the HRA plan, and they will make available a set amount of funds for those employees. If they go to the doctor and incur expenses, they can file for reimbursement. So what I've done on this illustration, it's a little bit different than the other one, because on this one, I've assumed we replace the PPO with the HRA plan, but the PPO is $100 deductible for single, $200 for family. What you can do with the HRA is you can put it in on the back end and fund those HRA accounts for everybody to get the out of pocket to be the same as like what the PPO is. So the goal is keep giving a really good benefit to the employees, and but also allow for some potential savings for the board. So any of the funds that aren't used would stay with the board. And because of that, the board is essentially self-funding a lot of the risk, which if we went back to that funding spectrum, it would put you over higher to the right and up a little bit. So a little more risk, a little more reward. And so I've modeled out different usage of the HRA. And just to not get too deep in the numbers, typical HRA utilization is probably like 15 to 20%. I think Bethel would be more likely to be a little bit higher than average just because your deductible is so low. Folks are used to accessing care easily, so they might use a little more than typical. But really, since you're saving a lot of money on premiums by doing a higher deductible account, and then you're giving that HRA money to take that cost from the employee's perspective back down. But most of those folks aren't going to use too much of the HRA, and so that creates a lot of savings opportunity, and that's what's modeled here. 54% of the HRA funds would need to be used to break even with the current funding levels. Anything below 54% would represent savings to the district. And I do have some administrative fees in here too, to have somebody run the HRA accounts and administer them for the district. So this would be an option to consider too. I'm a big fan of this. I haven't seen it done inside the EPC yet. That doesn't mean it isn't happening. We don't represent every school in the EPC, but this is very popular in the private world, and so I'd like to evaluate this further if this is something that interests you. And so that's kind of it. I would love to answer any questions that we can answer. I know I talked for quite a while, but it's hard to keep it to just 20 minutes.
Well, I think, and that's why I said it, not a huge time cap there, just because it's so important. The information, it's to get as much information and get it right for our teachers and staff. The biggest thing I saw was, is providing the appropriate strategy. So we can provide that security to our teachers and staff that are currently utilizing the program. Is have that security there. We're not going to get hit with either a large fee, monthly, or fee on their paycheck for their portion, as well as show up to get health care and then have to have a significant amount of funds come out of pocket. I like the last one where kept everything the same on the end of the employee from that aspect. And doing all that without reduction in coverage, I think the level of coverage a lot of the members are happy with that they're currently getting. Am I correct? From that aspect. It's kind of a statement, not a question, I guess. But so my next question would be is if we did go out with and you went to market for us for this program and whoever we settled with, would there be, would we be looking, the members be subject to changing medical providers, dentists, ophthalmologists, any of their specialty care providers? Would they have to change who that is? Their primary care doctor?
Well, it would be a possibility. Now, obviously, knowing if that is a deal breaker, we could definitely keep that in mind, right? We can control to a certain extent what network you're going to be in. So you're with UHC right now, so we would probably lean towards something with a similar network to them. But yeah, so knowing what is important is also very important to how we develop the strategy to take you to market, right? Because we do want to minimize that disruption. If we didn't care about disruption, we could put you in a reference-based pricing program, which is super disruptive, but can save you 50%. But your employees are probably not ever going to work for you ever again because it's such a headache for them. So yeah, we want to be very mindful of that. And, I think we hear the most about folks losing their eye doctors or their dentists, right? Even more than their medical things, because you don't always see that same person all the time on the medical side, but you do when it's a dentist or an eye doctor. So yeah, that's definitely something to be mindful of, and we would want to be thoughtful about the way we present those options to you too.
And I think as well as even provide an opportunity to our members that may be younger, that doesn't have that, that aren't concerned with that high deductible, that they're also paying less money out of their paycheck. That we're able to put more dollars in their pocket right out of the gate, so that they have more of that funding available to themselves, and they're not so used to or looking for superior medical coverage in that aspect because they don't need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even though I know I would love to be able to just save the district 10% today, right? But there's a lot to be said about your employees becoming consumers of healthcare, because it seems totally backwards, but a lot of time in healthcare, the lower cost is the higher quality. And, it's hard to get your mind wrapped around that. But when folks are put in a position where they have an HSA account and they have to kind of go shopping with their own money for procedures, they start to use some of the tools that are out on the MyUHC website, where they can get on there. They can find ratings of doctors, of facilities, and read reviews, and make educated decisions. Because as crazy as it is, even though it's your own health in your own hands and it's a very expensive procedure, you probably research it less than when you bought your last car, right? So but the HSA is a great way to get people to start doing a little legwork on their own and getting the most for their money. And then that ends up positively reflecting in your claims too. Being an EPC, you don't get the direct benefit, but if everybody in the EPC was a better consumer, it would be a healthier pool. It would drive a lot of cost savings. The renewals would be way less, and everybody would benefit. It's just hard you can only do what you can do, right? So let's focus on what you can do, which an HSA is a great way to start.
Right, and there's a lot of things that we can't control for controlling costs in the school, or finding more dollars to take from putting that into paying a premium to utilizing dollars for assisting in the education of students, supporting our teachers and staff. I'd rather take those type of dollars and put it in those areas versus into an insurance premium that isn't being used. So that's also a bonus as well, right? Healthy people, if they're not using it. So yeah. I love that. But also putting money there that, we're just paying out. We could provide that to, whether that's, paying for the electric bill or increasing funds that are available for pay rates and different aspects for the teachers and staff. That's more important to me as well. Those are my comments and questions. Does anybody else have any?
I would second what you say, and I like the idea of having the option. I like the HSA. I myself was in that and still have some funds left from back when I used to work, which is a while ago. I do not like that other one because you have to predict how much you're going to put in it. I'm sorry, I forgot what the acronym was, where you lose it at the end of the year.
HRA.
HRA, thank you. So you either put too much money in it and you lose it, or you don't put enough sometimes because you have to predict at the beginning of the year.
Well, that's actually a little bit different. So I think you're thinking the FSA, which is definitely a use or lose. With the HRA, let's call that the board's money. And anything that doesn't get, so the board makes it available. You as an employee know how much is available going into the year, but whatever you don't use as an employee just goes right back to the board at the end of the year. So they retain that money to kind of roll forward or re-budget in the next year.
Reinvest in that same healthcare for the following year.
Yeah, it could be. You don't have to put it back in the healthcare. I mean, you can put it back into the general fund, but just thinking of the way it would really work, you would basically roll it right back in.
The HSA, I thought that's yours forever.
HSA is yours forever. You're absolutely right. I was talking about HRA.
I think what I prefer about an HSA, my gosh, I sound very loud. I'm sorry. I like that it helps some of those younger employees have an opportunity to build wealth and build towards their own retirement. I think that's an incredible benefit to that plan and that program. I do see where the HRA could definitely benefit the board, obviously, and to providing these excellent benefits. But you know, when you think about your staff, the HD, the high deductible health plan can be excellent for many of these younger employees that we are bringing on staff as we move forward. So I see a tremendous benefit to a high deductible health plan coupled with an HSA for particularly younger associates and frankly, some older associates who know that they're going to use and go through the high deductible. I mean, honestly, those plans are often beneficial for some of them too. So frankly, I don't know that with our experience this year and with many of the experiences probably of a lot of districts, I don't know that it's a good time to be switching carriers right now and moving away from the EPC. I think putting that off for a little bit longer might be a good idea. I'm not sure going to market is a good time right now. Because like you're saying, they're not just going to quote us with other districts and school districts necessarily. They may be putting us with other industries of similar size and trying to, you know, guesstimate our values. And like you said, that last quote you had, you know, 7.5% to 12%, that's a big difference. So I'm just not sure that I'm comfortable with that idea right now.
Yeah, and just to be clear on that, there's no, we can take you to market. Now, we don't want to waste efforts, right? But we can take you to market with no commitment to actually change. So just shopping without any intent to buy. Now, obviously, we want it to be for a good reason why we're doing it. But if it's really just to get a feel, we are available to do that for you. You know, we want to provide whatever value we can.
And then the associates of Bethel would have to, they will be undergoing the form fire process, because in order for us to get quotes for Bethel, we would have to gather all that medical questions. So all of the employees would gather all of their prescriptions and things of that nature and go through that initial enrollment process. And so if Bethel has never completed form fire, we as McGowan Braybender, as your broker, we would initiate that process for Bethel in-house and then get the process started. And so it has been known to be cumbersome. And so we would kind of help facilitate that process because it can be a pain. And so, you know, we would just encourage and guide the employees on how to have everything together so they can, you know, successfully get through that form fire process. And so we take all of those completed apps and then we submit those to the carriers to quote. And as Justin said, it'll give us a feel, and then whatever the market, you know, has to bear, that'll give us an idea, you know, for the next 90 days, because those quotes, they hold for only 90 days. So I just wanted to add that in there. And I see that Miss Lori has her hand raised also for a question.
Yes, I had a few questions. When is our EPC rate? When do we find out our EPC rate increase?
So that's a great question. Last year, so for 1/1, we received them around the second week of May. So last year we received them May 13th for all EPC groups that had a 1/1 renewal. And a few years prior to that, it used to be earlier in the year. So around the February, March timeframe is when they were received. But to allow the EPC to gather more accurate claims data, they started waiting later in the year just to make sure they were quoting EPC groups appropriately. So we foresee that to be the direction that they'll continue to go going forward. And then internally, MB, McGowan Braybender, has, I guess you can call the State of the Union meeting with the EPC just to kind of clarify some things. So we're able to bring back to you all as well.
Okay, and I'm going to agree with Lyda in that I'm not sure this year is the right year to change plans because of that. As you did your analysis, we've only used like 60% of our premium. So if that's true across the board, and we don't know, but let's assume there's a surplus at the moment, then we essentially would lose that surplus, and we would expect the rates won't go up as much this year at least. But I do think it's a good idea that we add this as an optional plan for new employees or whatever the board does decide. I know some of it, I personally am on an HSA. I know the first year I went on, it was a little concerning. I think until you use it, it's hard to explain, but I know in other school districts, it's come down to people wanting a raise versus wanting premium health care. And I'm not saying, we can't continue to offer the plans we're on, but they're going to be very expensive over time. If we get a 12 to 15% increase every year, I can speak as a person. I don't think the board's going to be able to afford that. The taxpayers in this community are not going to be happy paying that. So it's just something to consider. We have 4 children, and it's worked very well for us. We've had years this past year. In fact, we've had $3,000 to $4,000 in medical expenses, and it's fine. The years we don't use it, we accumulate. And so it's worked out well for us. I can say that without a doubt, but it's a mindset thing until you use it. It can be a little bit disconcerting.
And Justin and Nicole, would we be able to offer that plan if we still stayed in the ESC for the EPO?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely do that. And it is very normal for EPC groups to offer both at the same time.
Justin, I think I saw in your notes, I'm sorry, Jacob, was that you? Did I just cut off? I'm sorry.
You're fine, go ahead.
I think I saw in your notes the possible implementation of like an insurance committee with like staff and folks to start getting educational things out about how best to use either just the HSA or just your insurance in general to help keep these costs down and try and, I don't know that we'll ever keep a 56.1%, but to help maintain costs and keep our rates, as best as we possibly can. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you can help with that?
Sure. Is my screen still up that you guys can see? Okay. Well, we have invested in a few resources internally at McGowan Braid Bender so that we can share them with our clients. And this one that I have pulled up right now, Accelerate Go, is just an example of one of those resources. It's an education-based platform where we can push out communications to your members, either through voicemail or email or text to help with the education. And so that's where I was kind of going with on the insurance committee, because I think it's based on education. How do you educate your employees to know what resources they have available to them? That way they can make the best decision for themselves and their family. And this is one way that we're able to help our clients do that. Really, all we need is a census with an email and phone number, and to know which communications you want us to push out. So let's take that a step further to the insurance committee. If you have an insurance committee that can decide, maybe we meet in November or even January and say, okay, what do we want to communicate over the next 12 months? We can figure all of that out in 1 or 2 meetings and create a calendar for communication. And we can use this Accelerate Go product to just push that out automatically. And that's something that we would help do for you. Because if you start trying to do it every month, you know how hard it is to keep up on that stuff when you're trying to do it as it comes instead of planning ahead. But if we can get it all laid out ahead of time, we can do that for you. So that's kind of my thought. I think an insurance committee is a really good thing. You can kind of drive some wellness activities through insurance committees that you might not be able to do otherwise. And the EPC does have some wellness resources that they give to you. So, I'm a big believer in insurance committees. We've had success with them in other school districts too. And it just also opens up communication across all different employment types, whether that's union, non-union, administration. It just kind of gets everybody talking, and everybody has a feel for a comfort level on everything benefits.
Yeah, that's great for sure. And I think anytime you're going to add a new plan of any sort, I think you need to, the resources for those questions to be asked and the information to be put out there and get that education component of the new plan out there as well. So thank you. That would be awesome.
You're welcome.
All right, Brandon, what is our next steps that you recommend we do?
Well, based off of responses from the board, I would say hold off going to my thing would be market and look at developing a HSA, high deductible, high premium plan to offer to staff starting January 1, 2022. Would be, if the board would be interested in doing that, to have two type of plans and one of the staff members to pick. Would be my recommendation.
I agree with your recommendation, me, sure. Do we have to vote that we want to go to that route, or at this point, get everybody's opinion?
We have everybody. I think you have everybody's opinion. I think everybody has the same concept as looking at that.
Yeah.
I could work with Mogo and Ron Bender to develop one or see what the EPC has and come back with that information next month for you guys. And if that's something that you want to do, obviously just remember it's a negotiation right now here. So I don't know if you'll be able to do anything once they're on board. Since it's in the current union agreement, so there would have to be some agreement with that, but I can work on devising one to present to see if the board's interested or not. Would that be what you would recommend, Justin and Nicole?
Yeah, absolutely. We can help you with a plan design, and
Yes.
and then we would need to work with the EPC as well on what kind of rates and stuff. So we won't know the rates until the renewal time, which is coming up in just a couple months. So that's good. But we can definitely work ahead on what kind of plan design might be palatable.
And I think too, right, is working ahead in that aspect, but also when we get the rates in May, that also could set us up, depending on what that is, to, go to a different complete route with, giving a notice and moving out. We'll know in May when they tell us if our premium, if we're going up or down or what that's going to look like.
Well, staff would have to fill out the information. They have to collect data. And like Nicole said, it is very, if you haven't done it before, it's a lot of information. Also, the thing that I wasn't aware of, and like what I'm saying right now, is you would be paying 2 premiums if you left in July. So you'd be paying 6 months of EPC even though not getting the benefit. It's $1 million. We can't do that.
Yeah. What I was looking at was, that's where in May would help drive us to say how we want to align ourselves, and then also noting if we're seeing, at this time next year,
Right.
we're seeing that that it's not in our best interest to remain, and that'll help give us some planning aspects as we move into those following years to get it set up in the correct way.
But no matter what, you would be paying double premiums for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. So eventually, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin or Nicole, I still think it's a good idea to gather the data from the staff and going out and seeing what is there. And it may not be savings up front, but down the road it will be. So it's still something I think the district should look at down the road. but I wasn't aware of the 6 months, so, that kind of throws a wrench in. I get why they upped it, but still, that's a substantial cost for taxpayer dollars that the district ain't really getting any benefit from. I have a hard time swallowing, as a treasurer swallowing.
Right. Unless they're able to, for some reason, we're able to recoup those costs, rapidly and then actually see a cost savings.
Now, Nicole, the question I have is, or Justin, what if the district wanted to do the HSA high deductible from a different consortium? Could they do that?
No, I don't think you're going to be able
I
to
don't think,
be a
yeah.
member in two different
Okay.
consortiums.
Gotcha.
And then as you guys are putting together what you're putting together for next month, will you be giving us options for, in my experience with high deductible health plan and HSAs, the employer often seeds that for the first year and then by different amounts in the following years. So, where you contribute some money to help people kind of get started and make that conversion from a traditional plan to, high deductible plan. So will you be giving us options for that or working with Brennan for how that would work and still be feasible for us as a board?
Usually what you see is if employee switches over from PPO to the high deductible, usually the district upfronts the full amount the first year. And then it's usually, when I've been with, it's usually 2 times a year. They usually do it half in January and half in July. But
Okay.
yeah, we can present all those options.
As a set rate, here's the initial, and then here's what you get in maintenance each year.
Yeah, because once you put it in, just clarify, once you put it in their HSA and they leave, it's theirs. You don't get it back.
Right.
Yeah.
So in education, the full amount is traditional because in industry, it's not traditional to give the full amount. So I just don't know. I'm just asking.
It's 50%. But what I'm saying is that 50%, they don't, if they switch over or if they're new, they usually upfront it the first year because they have nothing in their HSA.
Yeah.
And then
First
the
year
after
versus
that,
consecutive is different, like successive is different, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can provide those options and discuss.
That's terrific. Thank you.
Yeah, and what the numbers actually are.
Well, usually it's 2-4. I mean, it's whatever the board wants to set the premium or the deductible at. Most are 2-4 or 28.56. So 50%.
Yeah. We can run a few of those for you. Yeah, 2-4 or 28.56 would be very in line with what we usually see. We can assign some estimated cost savings. Now they'll just purely be estimated based on our internal actuarial stuff. We would obviously have to get real numbers from the EPC whenever they're doing the renewal process.
And Justin, when you come back to us with some of these proposals, I would personally like to see a wellness component and what that would cost us and what that would do for us. I'm a big believer in that, the wellness programs, and I think that's a good start. I've seen those work.
Absolutely, we can definitely we'll get details to show you what is offered through the EPC. And maybe we can also talk about other options outside of the EPC if that's of interest.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. All right, any other follow-up questions? All right. I'm gonna stop sharing your screen there, Justin, taking back control. So thank you for you guys' presentation today and in-depth information to help guide us, to provide the most appropriate care plan for the personnel here. So thank you very much. Nicole and Justin.
You're
you
very
all.
welcome. Thanks for having us.
And Justin,
Yeah.
I'll make sure I give you the right date next month.
Okay. It's good to get the blood boiling a little bit, right? First thing in the morning, Brennan. It's okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I had the wrong month on the calendar up.
That's okay. We made
No.
it happen.
Yeah. Thank you all, and hope the rest of your meeting goes quicker than listening to me.
Oh, you're all right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. See you soon.
All right, so next up is administrative reports, and I'll turn this over to Mr. First.
All right, first on the agenda this evening for a brief update from the elementary, Miss Jody Petty.
Thank you, Mr. Ferks. Just a couple items to share with the board this evening. Thank you to everyone for tuning in on the YouTube channel that's out in our community. First off, we have a Meyer donation that has been accepted. This is a little bit different than a grant. Meyer has occasionally donations that you can apply for. And we do have a representative from Meyer that has worked with Mrs. Roll on several occasions, and we have submitted a donation application again this year. And it was approved recently, so we'll be receiving a check for $1,000. Special thank you to our parent, Lori Haley, who has some children in our school district, for reaching out to us when those donation opportunities arise. The donation money will be used in some of the following ways. Our Bethel High Five prizes that recognizes students academically and for their behavior choices through our PBIS program. Also use some of those funds for our academic and behavioral awards, which would go towards certificates for things like Most Improved, Best Behavior Awards, Honor Roll, and Principals List. And we'd also like to use some of the money for math facts treats, in which we reward students for making progress and effort in mastering their computational facts in math. So those are some things that we plan to use some of that money for, and we do appreciate Meyer for keeping in touch with us. Like I said, Mrs. Haley and Mrs. Roll have been working together on that. So we do thank Meyer for another donation to our school district and our building. As I've said in the past, trying to do some fun things with the students in the building, since we're a little bit more limited during our COVID time. So we got the creative idea to do a rock, paper, scissors school-wide tournament. It's something that you can do quickly. We noticed that some of our younger students, due to one of our instructional aides, Mr. G, Chase Goulet, he has fun with kids doing rock, paper, scissors. And so the kindergartners and first graders have caught on. And so we thought this would be a perfect opportunity. So some of our classrooms started that today. Our tournament takes place this week. We've given teachers a bracket generator that just randomly, assigns students on a bracket. And like I said, several of them have gotten started today. They did a girls bracket and a boys bracket in each homeroom, and then the girl and the boy go against one another, and they have a homeroom champion. And those homeroom champions will go against their grade level champions, and then that will then progress to a school-wide champion. So we're looking forward to that, something new and kind of fun to do. So just kind of wanted to let you know about that, and to let our community and parents know that that's taking place this week. So we'll see how that goes. We hope to have some results and photos in the future to share with everybody. So good luck to all the students. You never know, we could have a kindergarten champion for all we know. We have our next item is coming up this Saturday, February 13th. It's the Love Your Neighbor Bethel Hope drive-through food drive. We are encouraging our elementary parents and students to swing by this Saturday, anytime from noon to 2 at the Brant United Methodist Church, which is located on Route 40. They're seeking help from our community members and students and families and staff members to help kind of rebuild their food pantry items for those in need here at Bethel Township. Typically, the elementary building does a Thanksgiving food drive, which donates quite a large sum of items, and we were not able to do that this year due to some COVID restrictions. So we're encouraging people to come out. Myself and Mrs. Roll are planning to be on site to kind of help greet and collect the food donations from our Bethel families on Saturday. I've even volunteered to be the Bethel Bee mascot. So if kids come out, they can get their picture taken with the mascot. That might be a fun thing for some kids. So just asking everyone to make an effort to swing past the church and make a donation. They did say they will take monetary donations as well. So for those of you who can't get out and shop, feel free to make a monetary donation. The last slide is just some upcoming events for the elementary. Tomorrow night is our PTO meeting, which will be at 7 p.m. in the high school library. Our Student of the Month awards for our January/February students will be taking place Thursday, with Mrs. Roll and I visiting classrooms and presenting those awards. Just a reminder to parents, there is no school on Monday, so that is for the President's Day holiday. We have parent-teacher conferences coming up on the 18th, along with Life Touch at the elementary level coming back to take spring pictures. Spring pictures will be taken only for those parents and families who choose to purchase a picture packet. So it'll be much less students, but we do like to continue to offer that. Interim reports will be going home with students on the 19th, and then our yearbook sales. I know that we had some difficulty with yearbooks this year. Mrs. Roll and I are taking over designing the yearbook and are trying to make sure that we have no major issues with our Life Touch yearbooks this year. So yearbook sales will be a 2-week period. We are not going to offer any hardback covers because that has been the real issue for the last 2 years, is that they continue to not send us the right amount of hardback issues. So we're going to eliminate that this year and hope that things go much smoother. And those are all the things that I really have for this evening, unless the board members have some questions that I could answer.
Well, first of all, thank you to Ms. Haley and obviously Ms. Roll for their work in getting that well-needed dollars, and how you're able to turn that around to specifically directly impact our students, which is amazing. So we're always looking for wonderful ways to do that. So I really appreciate all the work you guys are doing in that aspect. It's funny, my daughter came home talking about the tournament, the rock, paper, scissors tournament. She won her class.
Yep.
So she was super excited about it. So I didn't realize it was a full-on old school tournament. So I'll be curious to see how that's going to go on for her. And then the only thing I would say as a recommendation is possibly an inclement weather plan for Saturday.
Okay.
So if they're going to come rain, or I should say snow or shine, since I think they're calling for 3 to 5 inches on Saturday of snow. Not to say that our township road crews wouldn't have that road cleared right away for you, but just for information so that people know to still come if it's snowy or not.
Okay. I'll have to check on that, Mr. King. I will contact Bethel Hope and try to get an answer for that.
Okay, thank you. Does any of the other board members have any questions? That's a no at this time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is middle school principal, Mr. Tim Ziegler.
You're on mute. There you go. No, can't hear him. We can't hear you, sir. Even though you're unmuted, we're not hearing you. If you're using a different computer, if you click next to the mic on that up arrow, you may be able to select a different microphone from the Zoom platform anyways. That's the only other suggestions I have for you. And I'm on the phone.
How about now?
There we go. We got you.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Just what you need at a longer meeting. I will piggyback Miss Petty's comments about the food drive first and let you know that the middle school are holding homeroom competitions. They started it all last week and continuing this week. And I don't want to step on Mr. Swope's toes, but I do want to thank him. The one issue we had was how are we going to get all the food items to the church? And he has volunteered to drive the bus Saturday down there between noon and 2 to deliver the food. And then I think there are Boy Scouts down there that will help unload the bus. So thanks to everyone that's involved. Also, parent-teacher conference is coming up, and we are holding all 3 avenues by phone, virtually, and in person, whichever a parent would like to hold. Update on our winter sports. Both our girls teams were in tournament action and made it to the semifinal rounds, but lost last week in the semifinal games. Both had very good seasons. Our boys, 7th grade team won Saturday and advanced to tonight. And I just got a message before the board meeting started that they beat Miami East tonight at Miami East. So they will be playing at Tri-Village on Thursday. I have not heard how the 8th grade game went, but I'm going to assume
They
they
won by about 50.
Okay, I thought they would. Congratulations to both teams. The scheduling process for the 21-22 school year has begun, and high school counselors are coming over and talking to our 8th grade, and I am going into classrooms and talking to our 6th and 7th graders, and later on this week, I'll be going down and talking to the 5th graders. Also have invited 5th grade parents to come in next Tuesday evening at 6:30 in the Bethel Hall for any questions that they may have about the scheduling process. I'd like to congratulate our January students of the month, Maddie Zimmer and Saber Ismailov, our 6th grade, 7th grade, Aylin Kuchiev and Brayson Stanton, and 8th graders, Tiffany Moore and James Henry. And one item that I didn't get on here, but I did want to remind parents, is our virtual Washington, D.C. meeting. This is the initial meeting for current 7th grade parents to get the itinerary and information and pay schedule. That meeting is taking place virtually on Wednesday, February 17th at 7 p.m. And it'll be through a Google Classroom. And I think all of our 7th graders have been given the information to help get parents logged in next Wednesday. And that's all I have for this evening.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for also jumping in on the food drive. Those are, not only does that directly impact some of our students, but it is hand in hand direct impact to our community. Not only from elementary, middle school, and high school, everybody plays a part in that, and being the #1 spot, I think, in this community to bring in those elements. To support the community is key. And thank you all for having that mindset to engage our students and their families to help.
Thank you. And I tell you, the kids have really jumped in on this and are doing a great job.
Excellent. So, and congratulations to the students of the month. Any of the other board members have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
High school principal, Mr. Barrett Swope.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Okay, great. I'm not sure what happened with my report there. I had 4 bullet points. It looks like only 1 came through. First of all, as you can see, just have a brief mention that all the Bethel juniors will be taking the ACT this month. Students that are on campus will be taking it On February 23rd, the students that are doing option C, the online students this semester, as well as a few other students, they'll be taking it the next day. Also the CTC students, the juniors from Bethel that are over there, they will take it over at the CTC. They will not take it here on our campus. This is the test that is paid for by the state of Ohio. Every year, the state allows all juniors to take one standard test, the ACT or SAT. Jay Borchers is working on getting everything lined up for all that testing. The second thing to report on is that the National Honor Society induction ceremony took place on February 3rd, last Wednesday. It was moved to the evening this year. We followed health and safety guidelines as well. Normally that ceremony takes place during the school day in the gymnasium with the whole student body. But we did move it to the evening for due to COVID. We had 27 new students inducted this year, and that brings the total of current NHS members to 54. Once again, just like Ms. Petty and Mr. Ziegler mentioned about the food collection, we do have boxes here in the high school office as well as in the staff workroom for items to be dropped in. We'll run through this Friday, and then I talked with Mr. Clute just today, actually, as the NHS advisor, about having the NHS students load up that bus on Friday after school. So he has a meeting with them later this week to discuss that. So hopefully the NHS students will be loading those items onto the bus, and then I'll take those down to Bethel Hope Saturday afternoon. Mr. Ziegler mentioned the scheduling process. We've also begun that here in the high school as well. The counselors, Mrs. Wiedemann and Miss Lance, have been busy visiting the classrooms, explaining the process, handing out forms, and the students are filling out their request forms. Based upon those requests, we will then create a schedule. Once again, the goal is to get the schedule complete and copies of the schedule to the students before we leave for the summer. That's always my goal each year. Just a couple things, athletic wise, the high school girls have their first round tournament game this Saturday at 1:30. The game is at Northridge, and they're taking on Preble Shawnee. The boys' first round game is on Friday, February 19th at 8 o'clock in the evening. They play Stivers, and that game is up at Vandalia Butler. And then just recently, just in the last half hour, I just want to report that we had another female basketball player reached the 1,000-point milestone. Liv Reitinger did that this evening, and actually the game is still going on out in the gym. I'm watching it from my office. So congratulations to her. A couple of things on the calendar. Parent-teacher conferences coming up. We have two of them scheduled, February 18th and March 4th. And of course, parents, teachers will have the option to do those virtually on the phone, via Google Meet or Zoom or in person. I already mentioned the ACT test coming up March 2nd. Also, we have a blood drive sponsored by the National Honor Society that'll be taking place here at Bethel. Also on the calendar, looking a little bit further out, March 17th, we do have a band concert scheduled. We weren't able to hold those at all up to this point, but we do have a band concert scheduled for March 17th and a choir concert scheduled for March 18th. That is my report for this month.
All right. Well, first off, thank you so much for working with the National Honor Society with the induction and moving that to the evening so family members could be part of that event. I think it is an awesome induction ceremony rooted in tradition, right? And so I think allowing, continuing traditions is extremely important, I think, not only for us, but for our students to learn those. But it's also wonderful to be there to celebrate the successes of your child as well, or grandchild, or brother or sister. So that's wonderful. And continue the congratulations to, I think it was McKenna Gray hit 1,000 points this season, and now Liv Reitinger for her success in hitting 1,000 points. It's such a monumental feat for students to reach that in their basketball career here as a high school student. So I think that's a truly amazing. And lastly, I would like to say thank you, Mr. Swope, for all that you do and your additional duties that you volunteer for, as in driving the bus. So to deliver the food, Mr. Ziegler fronted you on that one. But you always there to pitch in and pick up, and we really appreciate that and how you're supporting our students and community. So thank you so much. Other board members, do you have comments? Go ahead, Danny.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Swope. Echoing Jacob on the set coming in on a Saturday to drive the bus and take all the stuff over to the church. Can you tell me who will be allowed to attend the concerts?
I've talked with Ms. Wolford and Mr. Spears a little bit. We are basing it on the guidelines of athletics. So based upon capacity numbers, 15% of max capacity. We, of course, will space chairs out. The attendees will be required to wear masks as well. So I'm not sure the exact number, how many per student that'll end up being. We're hoping 2 or more. So at least both parents hopefully can attend.
Thank you.
Great question.
And Mr. Swope, will it be live streamed? So for those people who aren't able to attend, so.
We are working on that. We were able to do the NHS ceremony live stream. We're going to make a few little adjustments to that, try to make the sound a little bit better, picture a little bit better. I know I believe the music boosters are working on actually purchasing some cameras, mainly geared toward the musical. But if those get in early enough and the tech people are able to set those all up, then we can make use of those for the concerts.
And I'd also like to thank you for giving the speech at the NHS induction. And one cool fact, I don't know how many of you know this, but I just think it's so cool that every new inductee signs a book. And since NHS has been in existence, this book dates back to 1979. So every inductee from 1979 to present that's been inducted into NHS is in that book. And I think that's such, as Jacob mentioned, the Bethel tradition. I think that's so neat. And sometime I'm going to have to get it from Mr. Clute and look at it. The last thing I want to mention, and I want to congratulate both McKenna Gray and Olivia Reitinger on their 1,000 points. I'm not sure. I'd have to go look at the banners in the gym if we've ever had 2 people the same year get 1,000 points. That's a pretty cool milestone. And I also, Brennan, if you could share, I put the link in. McKenna Gray's 1,000 points when it happened was covered pretty well in the media. It was in the Tip Gazette and then in the Miami Valley Today. If you could put that link in YouTube so people could read that if they would like. I put it in the chat. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Mr. Swope.
Hi, Mr. Hattery, important dates for the district.
He's bouncing around. All right, so we had the facilities committee meeting today. They did they are having an additional facilities committee meeting next Monday at 6 o'clock or Tuesday?
Tuesday, the 16th at 6 o'clock.
Tuesday, the 16th at 6 o'clock. So that'd be one to tune into as a community member. Looking at President's Day with no school, parent teachers conferences, work session. We do have the concert and choir on there. And then spring break. Yeah. We're gonna need it after this week, I think. The polar vortex and snow coming. So, all right. Anybody have anything that we're missing on here or any additional changes? No? All right. Next up is treasurer's items requesting board action. Turn it over to Mr. Hattery.
Board, I have the following items for approval tonight, organizational meeting, regular board meeting, and then the special board meeting. Approval and payment of bills for January. January financial report. The amended appropriations for January. Donations as listed below. And the approval of the transfer.
All right. Thank you. Do we have a motion to place the items from the treasurer's report on the consent calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Julie, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Lyda, thank you for the second. Any discussion? All right, Brennan, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. All right, motion to adopt the consent calendar with the items from the treasurer's report.
I'll move.
Thank you, Danny, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Lori, for the second. Any discussion? Brandon, could you call the vote, please, sir?
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield.
Yes.
Any other information from the treasurer? We do not have any at this time. All right, thank you, sir. Moving on to number 9, superintendent's items requesting board action. I'll turn it back over to Mr. Perks.
Good evening, Board of Education. On the agenda for this evening, for consideration by the school board is letter A, approval of supplemental for assistant coaches and volunteers for spring sports. At the present moment, the Ohio High School Athletic Association, the OHSAA, is planning on moving forward with spring sports as is. Baseball and softball pitchers and catchers, first day of practice, February 22nd. Track and field also starts that day as well. So on the agenda tonight is the potential hiring of volunteers, JV coaches, assistant track coaches, etc. You can also see in executive file attachments the resume of one of our new coaches as well. Letter B is approval of certified substitutes. We do this on a frequent basis. Anytime the Miami County Educational Service Center's substitute list changes, we need to reapprove the substitute list for the county. Letter C is the approval of a home instructor. I'd like to thank Mrs. Courtney Barble for taking on the work that she will be doing with one of our Bethel students who's at home right now receiving home instruction to essentially serve as a tutor and a support to help that child continue to maintain their academic goals. So thank you, Mrs. Barble. Letter D is the approval of change in educational degree status. Congratulate Mrs. Sarah Davidson for her transition from bachelor's plus 150 to a master's degree. So thank you for her work to continue her improvement of her skill set and also improving her degree status. Letter E is a tough one. We'd like to approve the resignation of middle school principal, Mr. Tim Ziegler, for the purpose of retirement. On behalf of Bethel Local Schools and the Board of Education, I'd like to personally thank Mr. Ziegler for the work that he's done off and on over the last decade here at Bethel Local Schools. Mr. Ziegler will be completing his 47th year in education, which is a testament in itself and something that needs to be acknowledged and recognized. Mr. Ziegler has also benefited the district and helped us out tremendously last year when we had our previous middle school principal take on a new position beginning of the school year. The district was kind of in a tough spot, and Mr. Ziegler stepped forth and has really done a nice job in the middle school, and not only previously as the middle school, high school principal, but also the athletic director, and once again as the middle school principal. And so we'd like to congratulate Mr. Ziegler on a tremendous career. I'd like to wish him and his family the best as they move forward, and just like let him know that he's welcome at Bethel Local Schools at any time. And we look forward to continuing and maintaining a relationship with Mr. Ziegler as he enjoys retirement. And as I jokingly told him, I don't want to see him as a Walmart greeter. So I hope he travels and enjoys some free time and appreciates the work that he's done in education. Letter F, is that one that we needed to take a look at? We talked about that last meeting. What do you remove that one?
Yes. Pull that one.
Okay, letter F, we're going to continue to take a look at open enrollment and policy changes. those are the items for this evening.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burks. I have a motion to place items from the superintendent's report to the consent calendar.
I'll make the motion, Judy.
Thanks, Julie, for the motion. Do we have a second?
Jacob, I'll second, but is it items A through F or just A through E?
C through E. What's going, now we have the second from Ms. Mansfield. Discussion. In discussion, I would like to amend the consent calendar by removing item F, as we have not completed the review of the policy at this time.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Do
Brandon?
we have all of our spring coach positions filled?
Yes, I believe so. I will double check tomorrow though.
I just wanted to check, and maybe we've approved it previously. Who is the girls' junior high track coach?
I'm gonna have to pull a list up and look tomorrow.
Those are all assistants to that. Can you hit B real quick, Brennan? Or A, I mean. So Casey's the junior high assistant, or junior high boys. Assistant girls, assistant boys, okay.
Yeah, I will need to check the supplemental list tomorrow.
I'm sorry, I didn't notice it till I read through them right now, and I was like, that seems strange that we don't have a junior high girls coach. So yeah, just want to make sure.
We may have hired it previously though too, so I need to check and I'll let you guys know.
And the last, we did a lot of the supplemental significantly ahead this year. So we weren't waiting to do it at the, like right now. So Mr. Perks will let us know if we're in need there.
Well, we can always approve it Tuesday if it got omitted, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Brandon could add that to the special board meeting if needed.
I have some discussion.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thanks to Mr. Ziegler. That many years is just a testament to your dedication to not only this school, but all students, and thank you. I'm impressed. And congratulations. Lifetime dedication.
Thank you all for the kind words. It's been my pleasure. Bethel's a great place to work.
Well, and I would say that it's people like you that make it a great place to work. So thank you for your influence and impact that you've had to not only our students, but our other teachers and staff that you've been able to assist and bring up along the way. And congratulations. I believe this is your retirement to finally retire. So I think it's going to be awesome.
That's the goal. But I just want to say, Mr. Firks has created a great environment at Bethel. And I thank him for that and for the kind words. Thank you all.
Thank you.
What Jacob, everyone else has said. I especially want to thank you, especially in the 2011 to 13 window. I know that was a very difficult time. I think you probably had a bed here most nights. I don't know how many hours you put in, but I think every time I walked through the building, you were there because you were both the middle school or the junior high and the high school principal. And it was a lot to ask when we went through that time of cuts, but I just want to thank you for coming back, helping us out these last 2 years. So thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I was much younger back then.
Yeah.
I'm getting all misty thinking about you leaving, but what a great principal and athletic director simultaneously that you were. And thank you for being such a good friend.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
If I can just echo my thanks as well. And you've always had an incredible ability to individualize your approach to every student. And that's something that I especially appreciate with the way and the care and concern that you've given to my own son and that I've seen you give to everyone else's children too, that you know them by name and you give a personal touch and you don't always see that. So we're going to miss that a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely some big shoes to fill when you go to find that person. And if it makes you feel better, I think Tracy Brewer is crying in the chairs.
Mr. Ziegler, how many years did you have been at Bethel total?
I was here 6.5 as high school principal, middle school principal, and then these two.
Well, I would say that those years were so impactful that people continuously talk about your abilities and how you've impacted them and our school in those short amount of times in your legacy of educating students. It's amazing. Thank you. All right.
I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Thank you for leading us there, Julie. Leading off Mr. Firks. Brandon, could you call the amended
Consent calendar.
consent calendar vote?
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes. Next is a motion to adopt the amended consent calendar with the items from the superintendent's report. Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Thank you, Lori, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Thank you, Danny, for the second. Any further discussion? Brennan, could you call the vote, please, sir?
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Ms. Reese.
Yes.
Any other information from the superintendent?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, next up is board items. So starting off with what we discussed in our work session, it would be to entertain a motion to establish a contract with K-12 Business Consulting for a treasurer search at the silver level. I believe silver is the majority of what everyone said.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Julie, for that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori, for the second. Any discussion?
Could you just maybe give an explanation for the community on why we went with this package and what it's gonna get us?
Yeah, we believe going with the K-12 consulting, this will be our third contract with them. They've done an outstanding job for us through their searches that actually brought us Mr. Hattery and Mr. Firks. So extremely pleased. We went with the middle level, which allowed for more time to advertise in multiple places, as well as the opportunity for interview sessions and second interviews so that we can find the most highly qualified candidate to serve our school district. As we know, that there's some very pivotal positions in the school, and the treasurer is one of them. So that's why we think investing in this strategy to locate the most highly qualified candidate for us that suits our district is why we should go forward with this package and this company. All right. Any other discussion? Brennan, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Mr. Young,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next up is, although we had accepted the resignation of Mr. Hattery at the end of his contract year, or as in, he requested to not have an additional contract. He is now in need to make a resignation effective April 30th of 2021. Do we have a motion to accept that?
This is Lida. I'll move since I did it the last time. I didn't like it the last time. I don't like it this time, but I'll do it.
Okay, thank you, Lida. I agree with you. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
Thank you, Danny, for the second discussion.
Yeah, so I talked to Brent about this, maybe he can, just give an explanation for everybody, give us a little comfort. I have two concerns about going a little earlier. One is the forecast that's typically done in May. And the second is negotiations, because we're kind of lose him to do some what ifs and figure out the finances for that. So Brian, if you could maybe address those for everybody.
Well, I think K-12 is why we're here tonight, is to address that for you in executive session. So
That would be the negotiations, but what about?
they can give you advice on the 5-year forecast too. But you can do it early. However, I would not recommend approving it before the required time and presenting it. So I wouldn't present it until when it's required in May.
Brendan, I would like you to have the 5-year forecast in final form before you leave. We may not approve it until May, but I think it's needed because we don't know who is coming in, and I think that's a lot to put on them. So I would just ask that you get a final version with the best information you have at the time.
Absolutely.
And then I know you've already said this, but just again, for comfort for everybody, you said you would be available to help the new treasurer.
I'll be available by email or phone. I can't come down.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank Brennan again for all his work he's done for us. I think a lot of people in the community probably aren't aware. The refinance of our 2014 bonds and the current bonds, he really went to bat for us, and the economic conditions were such that he saved taxpayers a boatload of money, which, nobody appreciates those savings necessarily, but it was a phenomenal job. I know he's called this his dream job, and I'm still, Brennan, I'm a little bit disappointed you're leaving. I really wish you would stay. I think you have a lot to offer our district. I think our district has a lot of challenges that you would thrive on. And so I wish you well at your new adventure, but I really wish you had stuck around.
Yeah, I agree with Lori. I mean, I think we all wish that you would have stuck around, and we're, devastated, frankly, to see you go. I think that's just the best word I have for it, for my expression, but I'm thrilled to death that you found something that's going to make you happy. And ultimately that's what I'm in it for, is to see you be happy. And if that's what you're going to find, then that's what I want to see happen. And I hope you'll stay in touch and stick around, because, I just don't want to lose the relationship that we've all built with you. Obviously the district will go on. It's going to go on. It's going to be all right, but we hate to see you go. But we're thrilled with everything that you've done for our community and for our district. And we couldn't have asked for a better find when we found you. And we're just sad to see you go, but I'm happy that you found something that is going to work for you.
I'd like to say too, Brian, thank you, like Lori said about the kind of big things, but I think the day-to-day operations is so much smoother now too. When I look back and when I started on the board, there were so many things that kind of fell through the holes or were forgotten and had to go back. And it was hard to understand the finances already, because the school finances are so different. And then to keep hearing, down the road, well, this got forgotten or lost. Or, we were still kind of paying things. So I appreciate the fact that we don't hear about that part of it all anymore. That everything just runs a lot more smoothly. So thanks for that.
Mr. King, may I say something?
Yes, sir.
It was a difficult decision, but I wanted to go back home. So in the end, that was the underlying factor. I'm very thankful for the board of giving me opportunity and fulfilling my dream. I was only an assistant treasurer before, so being the top man or top person was a little worrisome, but I always believe in the concept of we and not I. So I appreciate the kind words, but it was a team effort. It wasn't just me. We have some really great people here. I hope you have me back when the football stadium and K5 are done so I can see the finished product. I'm always here. Anytime I can help, I'll always help. It's public service. That's why I got into it. There's no greater reward in life than serving others. And that's why I got in public service. So I appreciate the kind words, and I definitely see Bethel striving. So thank you.
Thank you. And was Mr. Smith pulling my leg that we'll always know your name because it's going to be the next 10 years on the field?
You're buying naming rights.
No, I'm buying naming rights.
To the
Wow.
football field?
I didn't save myself that much money, you know? No, Mr. Smith did not tell me that.
It was worth it.
Good. Give me an A for effort there.
All right. Brendan, thank you so much for all you've done with us. Not only what Lori had mentioned with the $3+ million in savings to the taxpayers with the bond renewal, as well as the $3+ million-ish that was associated with our building project as well that we saved. So thank you very much for that.
That was Mr. Firks too. So like I said, it's a we. So
Just the teamwork and team effort that went into that, I think is great. So I look forward to seeing you at the athletic goal outing.
You know it. Mr. Elam's recruiting me already.
Yeah, well,
Short ways.
yeah, always trying to get me. All right. So thank you very much. I believe we're at a vote.
Correct. Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
No,
Ms. Reese,
No,
Mr. King.
Yes. All right. Motion still passes. Next up is a resolution for voluntary leave classified administrators. Did you want to talk about this?
I can.
Okay.
So I worked with John Legal. As you're all aware, the FCCRA leave expired December 31st. So, and based on the number of employees we have, we're not required to extend it, but we can. So when I first sent out the email back in December, it looked like it was going to be extended till March. Well, I jumped the gun. That's on me. So to work it out with staff, as well as whenever the rollout of the vaccination is available, the board would like to, this is a resolution for the board for classified and administrators to extend that leave if needed. And if they haven't already used up the 10 days that they were allotted, to extend it till April 15th. So this resolution covers classified and administrators, whereas you're certified, you'll see in a couple points down will be in an MOU between the union and board.
So we have two different, one's
Yeah.
the resolution and one's the MOU?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because the MOU is only going to cover the union members. So you have to pass a resolution, classified administrators to cover everything. If that makes sense.
Yes. Kind of like, why are we only not doing this one? Okay. Got it now? Thank you. Do we have, is there a number associated with the resolution?
Della will probably add that. I don't have the next one, but yeah, she'll add the resolution number to it once it's done. Or if it's passed.
The Bethel, we have a motion for the Bethel Education to approve a resolution for the voluntary leave classified and administrators.
I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie, for the second discussion.
First, in the first line, is it FFCRA? Because it says FRCRA.
Oh, yeah, that should be an F.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're okay. I didn't notice until just now when I was reading. I was like, wait a minute, I think it's 2 Fs.
Yeah.
And I have a question. So the MOU has the date, the 4/15/21 date, plus the extension of 10 days after the second COVID shot. So, but this one just has a finite date. I thought we were gonna kind of allow that. Does it need to be in here, or is this good the way it is?
You can add that down at the bottom. I didn't think about that, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be appropriate to add the same language with this, so as a amended resolution.
So before we add the language, though, I have a question about the
Okay.
language, because the way it is in the MOU, it's kind of an unlimited extension because it doesn't say, the intent when we added that was that the first COVID shot is coming up and there may be some people that get delayed, right? So it was kind of supposed to be within a time frame, right? Just to make sure that people had time to follow up with that second shot, but it doesn't read that way. It reads as or until they get the second shot. So that could be, September, October, I don't know. I just worry about the wording a little bit because the interpretation part we had in the past, we want to make sure that it's, that it's clear.
Right, and
intention.
and I think what I was going to try and capture when we voted on that one in the discussion in the meeting minutes was the intent. The intent of that statement was to give some wiggle room in the event of they weren't able to get their second COVID shot within the time frame to give them those 10 days between the April 15th up to April 15th. That the intent was the superintendent would evaluate that on a case-by-case basis of when their days would go. So, for an example, if I wasn't able to get my second shot until April 8th, then he would extend me to 2 weeks from then.
and they have to,
It doesn't read that way, so.
but they have to provide information. So according to John, as I said in the email, if they want the leave, they have to provide documentation that they got the shot.
Okay,
So if they didn't get the shot, then they don't get, it ends April 15th.
okay.
So
As long
unless
as
I'm
you think we're
mistaken,
covered.
usually when they get the shot, they got 4 weeks and they're gonna have to go get the second one. They can't, unless I'm.
It was also indicated to us that they will receive a vaccination card.
For the first and second.
So that'll be essentially their proof of
Yeah.
vaccination.
So if they want it after April 15th, they gotta provide the support.
Right, and include the intent by us for this resolution as well as, amended up to 10 days post second shot based on superintendents would be, the superintendent would be granted the authority to determine appropriateness of the 10 days post second shot and relative to the April 15th date. Because it's for the personnel to get their shot when it's offered on the first occurrence, so that it falls in line. So that on April 14th, I can't say that I'm getting my first shot. Well, then they are going to be out of receiving this benefit April 15th. So, and it's all associated with getting the shot in the scheduled time frame for Bethel Local Schools. From that. Does that make sense now?
To me,
Yeah, the only thing that we're gonna have to take into consideration, and we haven't received any information in regards to this yet, is what about those staff members that have had COVID and aren't eligible within the time frame when our vaccinations are provided to get a shot? And we haven't received any information from the health department on that.
Okay, yeah, so, there was information that was put out advising members that if you had COVID, you had 90 days of protection. And so go last, allow others to go ahead of you. But there is no, they're not precluding anyone from getting the vaccine if they have had COVID. It is on the questionnaire, and I would believe that if you had it in the last 2 weeks, they would say no. They'd rather you have 30 days in between becoming symptom-free from COVID to getting the vaccination. So I think, that case-by-case basis, with approval from the superintendent to manage that for the employee, I think would be the key element in those aspects. Because I don't think we can write an MOU, we can write a resolution that's going to fit every nuance that could come up. But I think the caveat of allowing you the opportunity to make those determinations if it's falls in line as appropriate is the best way to catch any one of those one offers.
Sure.
And I think we had said that before. What I'm saying is it's just not in the document.
So
We just need to add the
the
language.
April 15th, it ends is an end date. I talked to John. So an April 15th end date. The only people that would be eligible for leave is if they got the shot after April 15th. Or they're waiting on their second shot. That's the only people that would have, and they have to provide proof that they got the first shot.
Right, and so, and that's what we're saying was they may be backed up on that
Right.
first shot, which would put them past that April 15th. And they'd be able to provide, you,
Right.
Mr. Perks, like, hey, I had COVID and they told me I had to wait 20 more days before I get the first shot.
And that would be also in your leave policy board already.
Mhm.
You leave that to them.
That's all we're trying to do is cover those one offers in that aspect. From the first shot schedule that we have is what we're focused on.
So for our purposes, approving like a legal document, that would be enforceable theoretically, right? Do we need to add a phrase that says exceptions to this date will be granted by the authority of the superintendent? And then everybody's happy and we don't have to give any specifics beyond that?
So I think our legal advisor doesn't want us to say that
Okay.
because it's a set date. But
He wrote this for you guys,
Yeah.
so.
so what I was saying was the intent is that the superintendent already has the authority to make those decisions, does he not?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure under the leave policy, the normal leave policy, he has case by case basis.
So utilizing his case-by-case authority, that he could then work issues associated with second shot and date issues.
And
I
that'll
don't-
hold the true for the MOU as well then?
Yes.
Jacob, I don't have a problem with what you're saying, but if we get audited in the future and we don't have documentation that they've done what we've voted on, those people may have to reimburse those funds.
Well, they won't. If they have an email from the superintendent saying it's okay, then you're fine.
Yep, and our policy allows Mr. Perks to waive the leave requirement already. This is just identifying it specifically to this program. None of this is reimbursable, so it would be approving a staff member to not take personal leave to attend a field trip. That the superintendent can say that they don't get charged leave.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I just don't like voting on something that doesn't read like what I would expect. I mean, I can support this decision, but I don't want anybody to get in trouble long-term because the language isn't correct.
I think the language is correct in the fact that it covers 98% of what was going to occur. We're looking for like a 2%, those little one offers that don't fall in line with the normal process. Just because there's so many other things out there. For example, if you recently received an immunization, so 2 weeks ago you stepped on rusty nail and you went and got a vaccination for that. It is tetanus shot. Thank you. Like falling out of my mind. If you received that tetanus shot 2 weeks ago, you're not allowed to get the vaccination. So you have to wait 30 days, I believe, or 3 weeks post that vaccination to receive your first shot or your second shot if something happened in between. And so, those extenuating circumstances are difficult to write into a full resolution to cover those little ones. And I think that's probably why we already have that policy that allows the superintendent to make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. Yes, sir. Any further discussion?
So we're leaving it stand the way it is.
Because we already have a policy that covers those other pieces.
Okay, so let me just go back to my original concern, because it doesn't read the same as the MOU. Because the MOU states at the end, or 10 days after the staff member has received the second dose of the COVID vaccination.
Right, so we'll go there when we get to the MOU. This is the resolution, and then we can address that portion in the
Okay, so
MOU.
we're leaving it out of this.
Yes. All right. I believe we're at the, Brennan, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield.
Yes.
Do you want to just go ahead and skip down to the E so we can just cover that?
Yep.
So we can just cover them both together?
Sure.
And pull up the piece that's in question is where it's
The very last sentence. Or I guess that last paragraph.
right here in the last paragraph. In other respects, the terms of existing negotiated agreements shall remain in full force and effect as memorandum becomes effective 1 January. Shall expire, April 15th, 2021, or 10 days after the staff members receive the second dose of COVID vaccination. So how would you like to proceed? Both of you are here since we have Ms. Brewer. I mean, the intent is that 10 days post second vaccination, I believe in our discussions, was for those one offers that weren't able to get their vaccine immediately the same time everyone else was, or something precluded them from getting it. But it would be somewhere around that April 15th date.
Now that you explained the leave, I'm okay with it just saying April 15th.
Okay. All right. So we would remove after April 15th, 2021. We would strike that from the MOU and move forward. And the intent is, as previously stated, the same as with the resolution.
Then I have one other question about the MOU.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is just, I don't know, procedural, I guess, but typically the board does not sign an MOU, right? The superintendent represents us. So I mean, I'm guessing that's okay, but it's just.
Yeah, he'll sign here. He's your representation. It's a MOU between the board and,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Just previous people, members that have sat in Mr. Burke's seat had not brought it forward in this fashion.
Before, yeah, they've always signed it before.
Yeah, I just don't remember them saying Board of Education. I thought it had superintendent.
Even the union contract is,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Because it was a
The
little.
board's legal counsel wrote this one too, so.
It's fine. I was just asking.
Yeah.
all right. Any other items?
Association spelled wrong, but other than that,
Yes.
no.
If you were sitting here, you would have heard Danny just say that. It's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, he said it quietly. Yeah.
And the FF thing is the same in this one too.
Yeah.
Sorry to be that girl.
Worries, we all need them. All right. Do we have a motion to approve memorandum of understanding between the Board of Education and BEA voluntary leave MOU as amended here tonight?
I'll move.
Thank you, Lyda. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Danny, for the second. Discussion? My personal opinion is that we should not offer this to anyone that's refusing the vaccine. I believe that this should be for 100% of only the members that are agreeing to accept the vaccination, to not only protect themselves and their family, but to continue our ability to have in-classroom school. So I believe this vaccination is extremely important. I believe that it could save lives from that, and to give an additional time to deal with the effects of COVID and no charge to the staff. I feel like it should be 100% the only those that have agreed to do the vaccination. With that, I still support this agreement for the simple reason that our teachers have been here since day one. They've been in the classroom, not only our teachers, but our staff and administrators, all the assistants that work in the school, custodial, coaches, everyone, even our trainer, they've all been here. The nurses, they've been here since day one. I think that, we are leading the educational environment in our entire area by having in-classroom instruction available, while many schools chose to only offer a virtual environment. So I think that our students will excel based on the policies and procedures that we put in place to protect the students and to protect the staff, to continue to have that instruction. So that's why I will support this MOU going forward. But I felt like I had to justly give my true feelings with regards to the vaccination. Any other discussions or questions?
I agree with you. Absolutely, Jacob. Just wanted to go on the record for saying that as well. And I thank all of our staff for being lockstep with the district and doing everything that they've done so far too. But I think that getting this vaccination is very important to the future success going forward. And I would really like to see everyone get vaccinated if at all possible. I really, really would. And I think it's very important that they do so, especially with spring break and Easter coming through the time frame of this MOU.
Yes. And if anyone has any questions, I know several hundred people that have received the vaccine, both types that are out right now with Moderna and Pfizer, that I could provide information with regards to how those members reacted or didn't react. So from that, for any of the staff that has questions, be readily available. All right. Brandon, could you call the vote?
Ms. Mansfield,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Okay, can we go back to D?
Yes.
That being said, I would like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's new contract for the superintendent for a term of 5 years, commencing on 1 August 2021 and ending July 31st, 2026, at a rate of $130,000 a year. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori. Discussion?
I just have a couple of typos, I think. And sorry, I didn't get these to you sooner, but in the group insurance section, the text says 78%, but in parentheses it was 80. And I think we had agreed to 80, so we just need to change that text to match what's in parentheses. And also in the mobile communications part, we had talked about simplifying that. It's very complicated. It mentions the IRS. And Jacob, I don't remember exactly, but maybe you can. I think we were just going to kind of strike the last sentence that was in there because it all had all that stuff about the IRS and accounting and comes up with stuff. So.
Yeah, and I sent it to John, and he recommended to leave it as is.
Okay.
His recommendation was actually to add a date at the first sentence as the date the contract was approved.
Okay. We'll need to type it. That's the only other thing I saw.
Okay. So I would say that we wanted to ensure that we had longevity with the construction projects ongoing, as well as so that the teachers and staff knew who the superintendent was going to be for the next 5 years. I think that that plays a significant role, not only in people understanding who's going to be in that place, but as we look to decisions or agreements that are made, a lot of times, there's a thought of I'm writing this agreement, for possibly when you leave, right? So from a union standpoint, that you always have to look out, and we believe they're looking out to protect their other members, and hopefully this will show that we have a great superintendent who's dedicated to our school district, and we'll have him for 5 additional years after this school year. And so that's why we went ahead and moved forward so that we could lay the groundwork for that trust and reliability for the school.
Yes, and I just want to add, Jacob, I don't know, since I've been in the district about 20 years, if the district has ever offered a 5-year contract. We were prepared to offer Mr. Hattery a 5-year contract with his renewal. Obviously, with the resignation, that did not happen. And we have currently offered Mr. Firks a 5-year contract. So I think I just want to emphasize to both of them the quality that the board believes in your work. I think that's unprecedented in our district. So I just want to mention that to anyone who's listening in. I also want to thank Mr. Firks for all the responsibilities he's taking on. In addition to handling the pandemic, he's also handles all the daily issues, and then he's doing the building project without the benefit of an assistant superintendent. In many other districts that have a building project, they have another administrator handling most of those meetings. So I personally want to thank him for all his time and just the dedication he's put in to that project.
Yep, thank you. Okay. Any further discussion? All right, Brandon, can you call the vote?
Mr. King,
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield,
Emphatic yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Elam.
Yes. Thank you. Next is item F, the facility recommendations. Turn it over to Mr. Firks, Chair of the Facility Committee. We'll follow that up with a report from Ms. Reese. We jumped ahead.
We're going to talk about.
The facility recommendation for the.
It's not on your agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to do it up there.
Okay, so on the agenda will be an addition this evening. in regards to our facilities meeting. We met prior to the Board of Education meeting, had discussions with Laura Little from Garvin and Miller. And in the process of those discussions, we kind of took a look at the K-5 floor plan. Garvin and Miller was able to take a lot of significant input from the teaching staff and some changes as far as the layout of that floor plan. And after discussing with the facility committee members and also the Board of Education members that were present, all parties, for the most part, felt very good about the current layout as it currently sits. They are still a long way away from having a finalized plan. I think one of the comments that was mentioned was they don't have walls and doors and all those kind of things yet. But the site plan on paper is going to hold true, so to speak, as much as possible. And I think it's a good start and also provides an opportunity for the district, if they choose in the future, to have a setup and a layout that will allow for future additions and or expansions if the districts would so choose.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for the Board of Education to approve the recommendation of the Facilities Committee on the proposed layout of the K-5 building? Thank you, Danny, for the motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Lori, for the second. Any discussion?
I'll start.
You good, you? I was like, I knew.
So, once again, I just want to reiterate this. First of all, I 100% value the input of the teachers and the staff, everybody who spent all the time in those meetings, and everybody who participates in those kind of sub-meetings to get input. And I'm not necessarily opposed to the layout. I just think that I'm worried about the process. I'm still concerned that we're not having the community forums that invite the public like we used to do with the big to-do and one calls and all that stuff, so that people kind of get, as we're going along, making these big decisions, are more involved. So I just want to express the concern. Like I said, I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I am a little worried about the lack of the community having public forums and such.
Okay. Any other discussions? So this is the point that I wrote in my notebook here to bring up right at this moment is for our community. The next facilities committee meeting that's happening on Tuesday, 6 o'clock, is extremely important for you to engage with us and with our architects as we try to develop what does the outside of the school building look like, or what is the material that will go on there. We have the ability to receive your comments and questions that could, impact us. And it's Tuesday the 16th, not tomorrow. So to clarify that, thank you, Lida. But it's Tuesday the 16th at 6 o'clock. We need you to tune into our YouTube channel. We have limited seating available. 1, 2, 3, 4, about 6 seats here amongst us. So join us so that we can take your input. You'll have direct feedback. Please be able to give us some direct feedback as well. We do have community members that have graciously volunteered to be on our facilities committee. And we have taken in previous surveys from our community to also help drive us in some of the decisions that we're making. But that doesn't mean that we won't have future community engagements with regards to the school building or the stadium project. But I know for a fact that you can engage us at each one of our facilities committee meetings, because they are on YouTube, and you can put in comments and ask questions and clarifying questions, as well as for sure Tuesday the 16th at 6 o'clock to join us. And then one of the things I was going to ask is if we could also maybe put out a reminder on our one call for the community to log in for the 16th, just so they can see help understand some of the decisions that we're making and provide input into whatever we're moving forward with. Or we may get enough information to say that we have to have let's send this out and put it on the website for a week and see what everybody says if it gets constrained. So from that, but go ahead.
Yeah, I would most certainly agree with that. We will do a one call now reminder, probably the evening prior, just to give folks an update. If you're unable to tune in because of work schedules, family, busy lives that each and every one of us lives, and you don't feel comfortable necessarily approaching either a school board member or a building administrator or superintendent, a couple of your community members that serve on this committee, if you know Todd Bird or Caleb Runkle or Chris Mills or Rick Gilbert, feel free to approach them if you see them out and about and share some of your thoughts as well. They'd be more than happy to kind of bring back your thoughts to our facilities committee as well and share any potential concerns, or if you have positive comments as well, we'll certainly accept those also.
Excellent. All right.
Jacob, I have one more thing I'd like to say. I know we've talked a little bit about this in facilities, but just to give the community an idea of how many people were involved in this design regularly, I'd like to read the names of the teachers and administrators who were involved. Rebecca Fry, Amy Novelino, Barb Reisner, Holly Hughes, Erin Henry, Allison Sherrick, Madison Eggenschwiller, Holly Mills, Todd Bird, Jody Petty, Mary Roll, Justin Ferks, and then Julie and I. So, I mean, some of those teachers have had decades of experience in this district. So I've never been part of a project that has involved the teachers and staff as much as this one has. So I'm very hopeful moving forward that this will be the design we need.
Thank
And
you.
thank you to all of them.
Yes. All right. Based on that, any further discussion? Brennan, could you call the vote, please?
Sure. Mr. Elam?
Yes.
Ms. Sebastian?
Yes.
Ms. Reese?
No.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Board report. We'll start with facilities.
Move that. Okay, so a little summary of the meeting that we held just prior to this meeting. So the items for discussion tonight, first of all, Garvin Miller did most of the meeting. They gave us an update on the project regarding the educational vision meeting and the floor plan that we just talked about, as far as doing some changes that have been requested by the staff and teachers to swap the K2 and 3-5 pods on the ends, and some other things that wanted the younger grades closer to the arts. So those are now all in the current plan, including additional restrooms. And then she talked about the stadium visits. They toured 3 facilities: Wapakoneta, Pickwood, and Sydney. And the field house design includes a home locker room, visitor locker room, storage area, concessions area, utility area for the concessions, a large restroom area, a trainer place, a ticket booth, a referee area. And the technology meeting, based on the technology that they're going with, they do not need the technology closets, so those have also been removed from the floor plan. The next steps will be working on the exterior design, which will be the discussion on the Tuesday, February 16th meeting. And they're also going to meet with the kitchen staff and to start refining the actual layout and also of the office area, working on the schematic design, which will be to Peterson providing an estimate for the cost of the building. And also, so the next steps, of course, would be the meeting on February 16th to talk about the exterior. And also in that meeting, we will talk about roof options So we've been discussing whether we should have a sloped roof or a flat roof, so that will also be in that meeting. And also next in future steps will be the farmhouse demolition and tree removal. What we're gonna do with the remaining items in the barn that are district property. And also in the future will be an update on the traffic study and State Route 201. And again, the next meeting will be next Tuesday, February 16th at 6:00 p.m.
Thank you. That's a great rundown. Any other board members have any comments or reports? Well, I do. I'm going to move up so I'm closer to the camera. All right. So I can kind of, hopefully I can't even tell. Can you show our camera? All right. So this right here, right? That's our Bethel B app, right? So if you want to find anything, a reference to the school, but what I would tell you is you can click on documents and pretty much see everything we have on our website. It's great and easy for you. But if you want to get caught up on our building project, all the information, a lot of it is loaded right there. Or in the event that we do have an emergency at the school, as a parent, you can click on safety and security here, open. It quickly downloads a file for you, and then it has our safety and security plan and what parents should do. All this is at the drop of a hat, right in your hands. You can even get notifications. And I did find that the school delays and school cancellations come out faster on the app than they do on the local TV station. So I just wanted to pass that along, that they've updated more pieces to the app. I would like to thank Holly Mulu for that and what she's doing to enhance our communication between us and the community and the direction that she's receiving from Mr. Ferguson and Mr. Hattery. So thank you so much for that. And I just thought I would share that because a lot of people didn't see that there was the addition of the folders or the documents section of that page on the app. So it's a great tool for parents also to get additional information. If there's something on there that you're looking for that you can't find, please reach out to the school and we'll get that for you. I know some people have had some problems with notifications and getting those to turn on. So I don't know if we're able to put out something with regards to an iOS versus an Android device that we could share with the community in case they're having some issues from that. But I think it's a great tool. You know, the best part is use the tools we have to enhance our ability to communicate with our community. So as a community plug for the school app. So I just want to say thank you, and it's working out great. Hey, really? I get to do a demo? Awesome. All right. So thank you for obliging me for that time. Next up, sorry to Mr. wait so long, but comments from the BEA president.
Okay, I wanted to thank the board for working with us for the MOU. We really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it. And then on a side note, besides Mr. Ziegler helping me with my teaching career, on a personal note, especially this past year, he and his family has really, really helped me more than anyone knows. So he will be surely missed. And yes, I really was crying. So yeah. But yes, thank you again for the working with the MOU. I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thank you for all you're doing to help support our school. You know, sometimes you have the best of both worlds sitting there as a teacher and as the BEA president, and it could also be the worst of both worlds. So thank you for supporting our teachers, representing them for these super long meetings. So, and going to battle for what you believe is correct. It probably didn't sound right, but hopefully you got the intent of that. And Mr. Ziegler popped on.
Oh, we can't
She's a
hear.
good one.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you, Mrs. Brewer.
Excellent. All right. Do we have any hearing of the public?
We had a question on busing for CTC students for the ACT.
For the ACT, CTC students, since Tuesday is a day that juniors usually do not attend, will they take a Bethel bus or will we need to transport them that day? Mr. Swope?
I will have to check on that one. I'm not for sure.
All right, and I think you can see,
Do you see, there was
Ms. Mullins.
Miss Stacy Mullins is the one that asked that question.
Okay. Yep, I know Mrs. Mullins. I can get with her.
That might be where something might be worth publishing. If she has-
Yeah, we can do it besides just to the one individual parent. We'll find that and get it to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And it'll probably come out on the app, right?
The notifications.
Notifications.
That would be good.
Yes.
There's a nice feed on the website too.
Yeah. News feed.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It looks like Liz said that the, I'm guessing she was talking about the food drive.
Yes.
She was saying, snow or shine, it's on.
Gonna be cold one, maybe
Yeah.
-5.
Dress warm,
What about that?
but come out and support the community and help with the food drive.
Mr. Swope, one quick question on the food drive Saturday, a week from Saturday. How are you getting the food onto the bus? Do you have people lined up for that?
I mentioned that I had talked with Mr. Clute about getting the NHS members to load it up Friday after school.
As long as it doesn't freeze, because if you've got canned goods, you want to be careful with that.
Right.
Put it in the bus garage. Yeah, the good point to bring up. Pass on, possibly put that one in the bus garage, so that it doesn't freeze. With all that food on there. Okay. Next up would be executive session. I know that we need an executive session for number 1. Does anybody have any other reasons to go into executive session? No? Okay. You scroll down just a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Do we have a motion to enter into executive session?
I'll move.
Thank you, Lori. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Julie, for the second. Any discussion? The point I would have is there is no intent at this moment to vote on any items coming out of executive session at this time. Any other discussion? Brandon, could you call the vote, please?
Ms. Sebastian,
Yes.
Ms. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Elam,
Yes.
Ms. Mansfield.
Yes.
All right. Moving into executive session at 9:39 p.m. Thank you all for tuning in.
Driving home.
See you, Tracy.